driving somewhere. We were going back home yesterday actually. And, every place was packed, it was full. Suddenly life has come back in the city. Traffic and all the entertainment joints are beginning to fill up. So it's a sign that life is coming back again. Like when the rain, when the earth will dry and then rains come and you start seeing the greenery itself begin to come. I think last week, and this is the second time I was watching this movie. The movie, very good movie, and I highly recommend that you watch it. It's a Christian movie, very nice movie. It's called Nothing Is Impossible. And in this movie, the two leading characters here in this particular movie, one Scott Beck, famous college basketball player, who failed to make it to the NBA, is now working as a janitor at the old high school he once attended. He's still a legend. This guy is still, they see him and they hear he's that guy. Sometimes life that hit us until people say, are you that guy? That guy who used to be a star. So these students go to this former school and they're remembering how he won medals, how he was a superstar, great basketball player in the high school. But life took a different turn, and after he failed to get to the NBA, and now he's working as a janitor, struggling with life. His father is sick. His car is constantly not even starting. he's really suffering, living in a very, very miserable life. But to the kids in the high school, he's still a legend. For the current basketball team in the high school, he is still a legend. And they're trying to woo him back, to just come back. But reality has really hit him, and he's suffering. But at the same time, the other leading star in this movie, I don't know how many of you know, is a famous actress. I didn't know she's a believer. Nadia Jolling, yes, Nadia Jolling, acting as Ryan Akins. She's the daughter of the former owner of, and this is a true story, of the Knoxville Silver Knights basketball team. And so because of how things are, she has taken over her late father's job as the owner of this basketball team. And after firing 2 players for criminal and unethical behavior, the team now is in desperate need for replacements. But there's no money to recruit. And so she decides to try something new, creating an all-American team and refusing to buy new foreign players. So it's in the course of this recruitment of these new players that she bumps into Scott, who by now is about 39 years old. But he's almost getting to 40. And so it's interesting that he has come back for trials to try again to relive or revive the dreams that once were dead. And Scott is fearful initially of going back to the game he loves most. A game he once was a star in, because of the fear of failing again, as he had failed to make it to the NBA almost 20 years ago. So he's there and he's struggling. And his friends are encouraging him, his pastor encouraging him, but he's still struggling to go back there. He's wondering, will the past Scott give up on the years ago, come back for a second chance with the sport that he really loved? And to make matters a bit complicated, as he comes back, as he comes for the recruitment, the owner of the team, Ryan Aiken, is his former girlfriend, his high school sweetheart. And because of how things went south, the relationship didn't go far. And so they part. And this is now almost 20 years later. As Scott comes, he discovers that the owner of the team now is really his ex-girlfriend. And so both the leading actors, the actor and actress in this movie, are battling to go back to a place of failure. For Scott, he's going back to the team, to the sport that he once loved, where he was once a legend. But as the trials are continuing, one trial after the other, old flames begin to rekindle between this older player who is trying to come back into basketball and the lady owner of the basketball team. But as the relationship progresses, the lady is scared of going back to the place and going back to a relationship where she was left at the altar. And so it's a battle. One, the guy is struggling to go back to the sport, to go back to a place of failure. For the lady is also struggling to go back to a relationship that failed almost 20 years ago. But thanks to the encouragement of his high school friend and his pastor, Scott decides to go back for the trials. And no wonder the title of the movie, Impossible is Nothing. At the age of 39, is competing with guys who are 20 years his junior. And he does so well that he's taken back into the team. And to sweeten the story, they fall in love again with his ex-girlfriend and get married and live happily ever after. In fact, when he's taken back, the coach says, I'm not taking him back as a player, I'm taking him back as an assistant coach. It's a true story. And 2 years later, the coach dies and Scott Beck becomes the coach of this wonderful basketball team and is married to the owner of the team. As we come to 2026, I don't know how your 2025 may have been. 2025 has gone. There may have been things that we hoped God would have done for us. We may have believed and even prayed for certain breakthroughs, but lo and behold, the year ended without us receiving the answer to our prayers or our expectations being fulfilled. We may have ended the year and ended the year feeling so empty, our hopes dashed, our expectations disappointed, and our yearnings unfulfilled. And so as we begin yet another year, you are wondering what will be different this time. Will my or our situation even change? Will things be different this time? Is it worth even trying again? Is it worth even going back like Scott and Ryan were struggling with? Last week, Eric shared about some of the strategies that we are going to try to employ as a church beginning the year. And we're beginning with prayer. And you might say, well, we've been there before. In fact, last year we sacrificed our sleep, woke up at 5 a.m. every Wednesday morning to pray. But it seems nothing really changed. Yet you're telling us to go back to that same place of prayer. There may be many things that we want to go back to as a church that maybe in the past we tried and didn't work as we thought they would. And so we are here this morning and wondering, do we go back? Are we going to go back to that place of failure? And this could be you. Maybe it's your own personal life. There are things that, didn't work. You're wondering, will I try again this year? Maybe ulijaribu na hukuonekana last year. So I'm wondering, am I going to go back? My encouragement to us this morning is, let's go back. Let's go back. Let's go back to sometimes that place of failure. And as we look at this, I want us to look at the story of some men who may have experienced the same thing, though after a night of failure. Let us turn to the book of Luke chapter 5, verses 1 to 11. And this is really a new beginning in a way, as Jesus is calling his disciples, his first disciples. In Luke chapter 5 and verses 1 to 11, and a good story there. It says, on one occasion, while the crowd was pressing in on him to hear the word of God, he was standing by the lake of Galilee. And he saw two boats by the lake, but the fishermen had gone out of them and were washing their nets. Getting into one of the boats, which was Simon's boat, he asked him to put it out a little from the land. And he sat down and taught the people from the boat. And when he had finished speaking, he said to Simon, put it into the deep and let down your nets for a catch. And Simon answered, Master, we toiled all night and took nothing, or caught nothing. But at your word, I will let down the nets. And when they had done this, they enclosed a large number of fish, and their nets were breaking. They signaled to their partners, the other boats, to come and help them. And they came and filled both boats, so that they began to sink. Verse 8 says, but when Simon Peter saw it, he fell down at Jesus' knees, at Jesus' feet, saying, depart from me, for I am a sinful man, O Lord. For he and all who were with him were astonished at the catch of fish that they had taken. I remember these are professional fishermen. So the catch of that day was a catch that they had never caught all of their lives of fishing. They are amazed by that catch. And so also were James and John, sons of Zebedee, who were partners with Simon. And Jesus said to Simon, do not be afraid. From now on, you will be catching men. I will make you fishers of men, not just fishers of fish. And when they had brought their boats to the land, they left everything and followed Jesus. So these guys have toiled the whole night. They have worked the whole night. So you can imagine coming back home that morning. And probably they're wondering, how are we going to tell our wives? They're expecting breakfast. The children may be expecting a bus fare to go to school. And you've caught zero, which means there's nothing to sell. There is no income for that day. They are going home empty-handed. Not because they have they have been lazy. They have worked. In fact, the word that is used there is they have toiled. Means they have worked very hard. So they have worked hard, and not just for 1 hour. They have worked hard the whole night. Now, working hard during the day is something, but working hard the whole night is a different matter. It's a different ballgame. You're out in the cold. Maybe they're being bitten by mosquitoes in that sea. They're trying everything that they know how because they are experienced fishermen. They're not learners. They're not novices. They're experienced fishermen. But that night, come morning, there is nothing to show for the work that they have done. There is zero to show for their work. One of the most painful things is to work hard and get no results. It's different when you're not done something. And I remember when I finished my A-levels, I worked hard. I studied hard. I was doing a very difficult subjects. Maths, physics, chemistry, and biology. Those were my subjects. And I worked hard. I remember sleepless nights. We used sometimes to put our feet on cold water in a bucket so that we can stay awake and take dark coffee so that we can plus call it last night. So we toiled. I toiled. So as I did my exams, count the results, I didn't make it to campus. Those days, guys, I sometimes cannot understand this, but those days there was only one university in Kenya, Nairobi University. Even Kenyatta University was a constituent college of Nairobi University. So there was only one university. Moi University was just beginning. Jomo Kenyatta was just offering diploma courses. And so to make it to campus meant going to Nairobi University. And we are about 22,000 people who sat that exam, and only 2,000 will make it to go to campus. So in case you wonder how I go to India, that's how I go to India. So I remember after getting my results, my dad telling me, no, I need to go, I repeat. He told me, no, you have to go and do it again. And if you do it again, you pass. And I was looking back and I'm thinking, I worked hard. I toiled the whole night. And this is the results that I'm getting. So I was upset. And so my dad tried to talk to my former principal at my courses. And my principal was not happy with all of us who had come back because we had been taken, we had done O-levels and been taken back to the school. And so most of us did not do very well. And so he said, no, there's no space for Wendy, which for me was an answered prayer because I didn't want to go back. I remembered one guy who had repeated Mwanzia, who was in our class, and I remember how we used to look at him, but how it's a shame, people who used to see you as their senior, now you're together in the same class. Parents, telling your children to repeat is not an easy thing. Don't just think it's easy to repeat, because the people you were ahead of them, now you're in the same class with them. And I knew that I had read. I didn't play. I wasn't joking. I had worked hard. But I had failed to make it to the campus. I said, I don't know about you, but I know there are things you have done. You've worked hard. You've done everything. You have fasted and prayed. You have done all that you know how to. But there's no results to show for the hard work that you have put. When that happens, when we have done everything, when you've prayed, when you've tried this and you've tried that, did this and did that, and really worked hard in your business, worked hard in all that you're doing. But at the end of the month, there's nothing to show for it. It sucks. It's painful. It's not easy. It's discouraging. So I can imagine these fishermen in the morning coming back and they're wondering, what a night. And then Jesus comes and he's telling them to launch deeper and to let down their nets, to go back, to to the same place, with the same boat, in the same sea. Probably thank God they'll wash the nets with the same nets. It's not going to a different sea. You're going back to the same place you have been the whole night. I come from the lakeside, so I know this very well that fishing for fishermen, they fish at night. Nobody fishes during the day. During the day, it's so clear. You can't see the fish. The fish will take off. People fish at night. And so Jesus is telling them to go back. Now it's during the day when they sun. They have fished in the normal circumstances, the conducive environment, and have got zero. How will they succeed now going back when the conditions are not favorable to them? It's going back during the day. Jesus is telling them to go deeper and then to launch down their nets. So this morning, as we look at this fishermen, and as I continue with my series on perceiving the new that God is doing and embracing it, because God is doing a new thing here. And sometimes we can miss it because of just where we are finding ourselves. Like Scott Beck or this lady, we may be struggling to go back to that old thing that maybe did succeed. Going back to the place that we feel we have toiled the whole night and yet got nothing. But Jesus comes to the scene and tells them, now go where it is deeper and let down your nets and catch some fish. So what lessons can we learn? That place is deep. I don't know how many meters it is, but it's a very deep place. That's why ships come. You know, to see a bug in a ship is equally, if not bigger, or if not higher, height under the water. It's a place when if you don't want to imagine falling inside there. So it's a very deep place. So Christ asks them, go back deeper. In short, go and work harder, go and work smarter. Go and toil more, but go deeper. And that may mean maybe being more committed. It may mean doing it again, but a little bit more. Sometimes it is consistency that pays. Sometimes it requires us to be resilient and to consistently keep hitting. Then we will finally have a breakthrough. God is telling us to go deeper in our devotion for Him, in our service for Him, in our commitment to Him and His work. He's asking us to go deeper, give it even more than you gave it last night, last year. Let's go deeper. But the third thing we can also learn, the third thing we can learn again from this is going back and deeper, not just because we feel good about it, but because He has said it. I like the word that Simon uses there. He says, Master. Now that's, or Lord. That's a huge word. It means you become a boss. You can say boss. You know, when your boss tells you something, even though you think it's very unreasonable, but it's who has said it. It's the boss has said it. And so what Peter is basically saying here, boss, come on, December, if you will do it again. We have toiled the whole night and got nothing. Nevertheless, at your word, we'll go back again. It's because of His word that we're going back again. Friends, my prayer is that as we're going back not because we just want to go back, but because we have heard His word saying, go back. And that we will walk in obedience to His word, because it's one thing to hear His voice, but it's another thing to walk in obedience to what we have heard. And sometimes what makes us not walk in that obedience is because of, hey, nimefanya hiyo last year, nimefanya hiyo for the last 10 years, nothing has happened. He's saying, go back. And probably as we obey, that we're going to see the results that we want. You see, His ways are not our ways. Just as high as the heavens are from the earth, so are His ways from our ways, and His thoughts from our thoughts. And so sometimes He tells us to go back. It may not make sense. As I said, it was during the day. It's been broad daylight. Jesus is saying, go back. And I think they're wondering, what, are you even a fisherman? Do you even know what it means to go back? You stick to your lane. The time I was in a church and there was a dancing competition, and I found myself there, and somebody came and talked to me and told me, Pastor, just stick to your lane. You can't do this. So I can imagine Peter telling Jesus, but you just continue preaching. You remember fishing, don't you? But Master, at your word, we will go back. It doesn't matter. I may think you're not experienced, but There's something you know that maybe they don't know. There's something that God knows that maybe we do not know. So at your word, we will go back. I will go back. And sometimes it's just that obedience that God is looking at. You see, God blesses the obedience of our heart much more than the labor of our hands. Let me say that again. God blesses the obedience of our heart much more than the labor of our hands. So if you're somewhere, you're toiling and working hard, but it's because you're doing so in obedience to the Lord, as Aruda did, the Lord will bless you. He blesses more the obedience of our hearts than the labor of our hands. So if He has asked us to be there, let's be there, and God will bless that. He will bless our obedience. Nevertheless, at your word, everything within me says no. But because you have said, I am going to go there. I'm going to do that. I am going to go back to that same place maybe of failure. But fourthly, going back is not just about us, but it's also about others. It's never about just you. When God is saying go back, it may not be for you. It may be for somebody else. Just this week, we belong in an African Christian authors group. And I think a week ago, a lady from South Africa reached out to us. She's also an author, and we've met a couple of times. In fact, Hi and I share the same birthday, September 26th. And so, as we began to talk, she said that she wants us to go and do a couples retreat for couples who are recovering from infidelity. And as we began to talk, she began to share her story. It is interesting that this is really coming from her story. Story of betrayal by her husband, but out of that, from that healing, now she's ministering to many couples who find themselves in those kind of situations. So sometimes God will take us back there, not because of us. It's because of those many other people out there. So for the disciples, it wasn't just about them. You see, as they were there, it says that when they had gone in verse 6, and when they had done this, they caught a large number of fish and their nets were breaking. So they signaled to their partners in the other boat to come and help them. And I was trying to imagine these other partners, when they were launching the deep, they must have followed also half-heartedly, wondering to see, let's see what's happening. Why are these guys going back? Because Jesus had not spoken to them, he's spoken to Peter and his company. But these other guys also followed, and maybe as they followed and went into the deep with Peter and his colleagues, they are now being beckoned, come. Or maybe they were far still at the show watching and seeing and trying to mock these guys. And suddenly they are seeing guys say, Kujeni, come. And as they come, they also share and become partakers of this blessing that has just happened. So sometimes God is asking us to go back there, not just because of us, but because of others that are around us. It's never just about you. It's about others that God wants to minister to and to touch. So it's so that others can learn sometimes even from our own mistakes, not just successes, but also from our own mistakes. It's so that our cup can run over, so that others may drink the cup that is running over. We are coming from a place, as we had early this year, and I think that was a timely one. We are coming from a place of scarcity to a place of abundance. I always love it when I encounter like this lady, people who have an abundant mindset. Some people have a scarcity mindset. They think that if they share with you something, they share. Yeah. And when we began doing what we are doing, one of the most powerful, beautiful encouragements I had from somebody told me, Pastor, go ahead and do what you want to, what God has put in your heart to do. The sky is too big. I've never seen two birds collide. And sometimes we operate, especially from this part of the world, we operate from a scarcity mindset. That's why we amass wealth that is not necessary. Because it's a scarcity mentality. We want to keep acquiring, we think it's going to get finished. But when you go to the US, people are comfortable with one house and they're okay because they have lived in abundance. But us, scarcity, we're always just thinking and we keep everything, hold everything to ourselves. We get a good idea, we want to keep it to ourselves. So I was blessed. This lady said, come. She was telling me, come. The harvest is plenty as they come to Saidia. Come and help us. This side. And then they said, they believe we're going to pay for our air ticket. Come. So what am I saying? See, let's not have a scarcity mindset. Let's have an abundance mindset. And I believe that as the Lord is blessing us, the blessings will overflow to others around us. That's the mindset I want to, we are abundant life community church. As God blesses us abundantly, it's going to be abundant. That is going to overflow, and others will be blessed as well. And as I was thinking about this, I was reminded of the story of Naomi and Ruth. See, Naomi took off from Israel because there was a famine. She went to Moab. She went to a foreign country. Now her two sons have died. They left her with their wives. So here's a mother-in-law with the two wives, who are wives of her sons. And she suddenly decides to go back. It's like going back to the place she was running away from. Going back to a place of famine. Going back to a place, quote unquote, a place of failure. But in obedience, she goes back to Israel. And Ruth follows her there. And as you read that story, beautiful story, Ruth finds her blessing back in that place where she follows Naomi. So Naomi going back wasn't just about Naomi. It was more about Ruth. But the book is called the book of Ruth, not the book of Naomi. It's called the book of Ruth. But see, it's Naomi who decides to go back. And as she decides to go back, Ruth, who is committed to us, tells her, your people will be my people, and your God shall be my God. I know we use that scripture in weddings, but we fail to realize it wasn't her husband telling the wife. It was her daughter telling her mother-in-law. That's powerful in itself. Daughters and their mother-in-law. There's a conflict there. But this one is saying, your God will be my God. Your people will be my people. And she was a Moabite. And so she comes back. And out of that comes the lineage of Jesus Christ. That's where David is born. She's a great grandmother of David. But imagine if she remained behind like Oprah. There's no book of Oprah. Oprah's story ends in chapter 1. But Ruth is for eternity. In the book of Matthew, she's among the few women who are mentioned. But why? She stuck to Naomi. But why? Because Naomi decided to go back. And it wasn't just about Naomi. All this was because of Ruth finds her blessing in that place. So friends, it's not about us. Sometimes it's about many other people who are around us. And even as we look at this, as we look at this and as we close, it's not just about us, it's about others. So they call to their partners, and their partners come and begin to help. I like what Eric said last week. It's all hands on deck. That's basically what's happening here. They are calling others to come together. This harvest, this work is too much. Please come. Let's join together. Let's partner together. So we see a partnership here. We see people coming together to bring out and to bring to the show the rich harvest that God has blessed them with. And so for us, it is not just about others, but it's about others in this way. We are dealing and partnering together so that we can be able to bring in the harvest. Remember what I said last week? You see, Isaiah was just there. Isaiah, there's nothing that you read about Isaiah being called. Isaiah just happened to have had a conversation. He said, Lord, yeah, my son. He had something. He had the issue here. I normally tell people in church, if you see a problem in the church, it's likely God is calling you to minister. Because the pastor won't see it. You who have seen it, probably you are the one who has an answer to it. So if there's something you see here that we need to do, most likely it's God who is calling you. Sarah, thank you. Because Sarah said that we need to pray. So she said, I pray. Yeah. So you have to be careful. So you sometimes say, why don't we do? And then I ask you, okay, so you can't be seeing this thing. So maybe God is calling you to do that thing. Because some of us may never see it. So God could be calling us to come together. Let's partner together. This is a call for partnership so that we can bring in this harvest. But finally, the fifth point here is that going back requires us to redefine success. Going back requires us to redefine success. In verse 8 to 11 it says, but when Peter saw it, he fell down at Jesus' feet, saying, depart from me, for I am a sinful man. He and all who were with him were astonished at the catch fish they had taken. And so also were James and John, sons of Zebedee, who were partners with Simon. And Jesus said to Simon, do not be afraid. From now on, you will be catching men. So imagine is their greatest catch. In our today's terms, we'll say this was their greatest sales. They had never made any sales like that day. It was a record. I can imagine how much they went home with that day. They had made record sales. But it is at the height of their success, so to speak, quote unquote. It's at the height of that success that they leave everything and follow Jesus. I think if it was us now, we would have begun a ministry. Catching fish, miraculous catch ministries. and become a powerful ministry out of that, and to show people how we can catch a lot of fish. But it wasn't about the fish. It wasn't about the fish. It was about something greater than the fish. This success has become a common word for many of us, even believers in ministry, as well as those of us who are in business. How does success look like? How do we define success? Success sometimes in ministry can be defined as increasing church membership, getting more money, and that's good. Having a beautiful building, those are wonderful things. Whereas they are good things, we must see success differently, or else we can get caught up with a real wrong view of success. And even as a church, as we look at what will success look like for us, what does success look like? Past couple of weeks, I've just been watching, about YouTube. These things, the kind of things you like reading or you like watching, so they just keep bombarding you with the same stories. So I've been having a lot of stories about the fall of mega churches in the US. Many churches are falling, and I was really one where the church has now they have sold the building to a supermarket. It was a huge church, so sold out to a supermarket. Thousands of people, but they don't have money to maintain the place. People membership has gone down. There have been scandals about the leaders of some of these ministries. But I also believe it's maybe just a way of God now removing the covers, exposing a lot of things, and to show us and to bring us back to a place of what is really true success. Does that success depend on the man of God? So that when the man of God is out of the scene, then everything comes crumbling down. That's a fear. What is happening in ODM has happened in many churches. The founder dies. Everything goes into business. But I don't think that's what Christ meant. Christ went and the church has grown. The superstar left. But it's after he left that the church grew. That's true success. And see, that success began with 12 people. Not a multitude. Not a mega church. It began with 12 people for 3 years. And we may have thought this, hey, ministry, I grow. 3 years, 12 people. But they followed Jesus. But after Jesus ascends into heaven and the Holy Spirit comes, those 12 people. But one betrayed, so even it went down to 11. So 11 guys. Yeah, the number was reduced to 11 after Judas. But you see, those 11 people plus now the one who was added transformed and turned the whole world upside down. So success, let's look at success differently. It's maybe about going deeper. It's maybe about becoming, we are a church where we are all, we are not measured by our sitting capacity, but by our sending capacity, by our activity as a people. Sometimes I marvel at this whole church and things you do. You do mighty things. These few people here can do things that sometimes it amazes me. So it's not about the numbers. It's not about all those. Those things are good. But let's not lose focus of what true success looks like. As far as a church, we need to redefine success. What does it look like? Does it just mean numbers? Does it just mean how Sunday services look? Does it rest solely on who the pastor is? Or is it about what God is doing among us? How God is transforming lives and how God is using us to be fishers of men. And as we deepen our walk with the Lord, as we grow with the Lord, we're also able to bring in others into His kingdom and able to disciple them as believers in the kingdom. It's not about discipleship. It's not about transformation. It's all about a commitment. It's not all about us walking in obedience to the Lord. Success is really walking in obedience to the Lord. So if you are somewhere because of out of obedience, that's success. It's not what is happening around you. It's your obedience to the Lord, that is counts. What true success is all about. So this morning, as we bring this to a close, I want to ask us, what, what do we feel the Lord saying to us individually, as individuals? But also as a church, what are we sensing God is saying to us? Are we sensing that He's telling us to go back to that place? Going back to certain places. What are those areas God is asking you to go back to? It could be a relationship. It could be a business that maybe you abandoned many years ago because of feeling that you are toiled for so long and got nothing. What is it that God is calling you back to? Maybe it could just be prayer. It could be the walk with the Lord. It could be studying His Word. What do you feel God is calling you back to? And as we go back, may we be able to perceive that new thing that God is doing in us. Though we may be going back to the same place, back to the what looks like the old, tried and tested, but even as we do so, our eyes will be open to perceive and to